Right, share, yes.
Hello, everyone. Wonderful to see you again, or wonderful for you to see me and my special guest, Sara Jane, from the British Isles, the mystical, marvelous, magical land of King Arthur and the fairies and the little people and all kinds of wonderful things. So, Sara Jane, welcome to the podcast and the Substack.
Thank you. It's brilliant to have you here. And when you sort of talk about the little people, I actually spent most of my growing up in Devon, and we have the Pisky. The real name is Pisky,
Yes,
but many people call them
the
pixies.
Pixies,
And
right,
so
of
we
course.
very much grew up with those around us.
That's right. It's one of the many varieties. There's the gnomes and the fairies and
Yeah.
the elves and the dwarves. Yeah, that's great. That that seems to be much stronger in other parts of the world than it is in North America, in the British Isles in particular, but other places in Europe and of course in Africa and parts of South America where I have lived. That communion with the nature and the spirits of nature, or the devas as they're called in India.
Absolutely. I mean, because I've connected with many, many mythical beings, and I've therefore sort of read a little bit about sort of many of them
Mhm.
and the history of, or the legend of Grandmother Turtle and the
Oh,
creation of the earth.
yeah.
Um, but then, yeah, as you said, South America, sort of there are many sort of down there, but there are many around the world.
Yes.
But they're the dragons, but the dragons are here in the UK, but very much in China. So
Oh, yes. China, Japan, yeah. Almost every country. Even in Paraguay, where I lived, they have a version, a mythical being, which is like a dragon. It's actually a parrot. It has the head of a parrot, but the body of a dragon. They have a lot of parrots down there. So, yeah, it's sort of a magical being. It can be, according to the legend, it can be helpful, and if we don't behave, it can be punishing. So people sort of have to keep on their toes when they're dealing with the.
yeah, but
uh,
I think with all the beings, they're here to support us.
yeah,
But yeah, and there's an element of protection, but they can't
yeah,
protect us from everything. But dragons very much come under the heading of serpent.
right,
So obviously, when you think of the Chinese dragon, that is more like the snake.
yes,
Whereas obviously you get the winged dragons, and yes, and you've got the feathered serpent. So I think they're in South America.
that's
So sort
true,
of
that's true, and yeah, in the land of the Maya, for example. Yeah, well, it's wonderful. So you have this attraction and compatibility, you might say, or resonance with this kingdom of beings, I suppose we could call them, right?
oh yes, mythical beings. But in a poem that I was given, one of the lines was, "The doors of the mythical realm are opening wide," and so many people are connecting, whether it's with the fairies, as you said, the divas. It doesn't matter. There are so many of them, and it's about not considering any of them as our enemy, as
Mhm.
someone to fear. The werewolf and the vampire,
Mm,
they are actually our friends.
of course.
They can be with us in a
Yes,
nighttime
yes,
situation. The werewolf has said we all have our own guardian wolf.
right.
So
That's a wonderful attitude. I love that everything in creation really is here for our betterment, our illumination, and our progress. So, depending on our consciousness, we can learn how to make use of it in a positive way and collaborate, even, I suppose,
yeah, yeah.
because
I mean, I
yeah, those beings also have their agendas and their purpose and their evolution. So, if we collaborate with them in spirit or in mind or however we do that or in ritual, then it's helping them and sort of, you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. Mutual benefit.
yeah, no, I share a message from a mythical friend every month, and
Wow.
that I've connected with the dragons that guard over the Earth's crystals, and
Mm,
the ones I've connected with,
mm,
they've all given me their names to
mm.
the crystal that they're guarding over.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
yeah, I share one from them every month as well.
Yes. Well, tell us a little bit in general, the big picture of some of what you do and have been doing. I know there's a book in the about to be published and or just was, and you have broadcasts and videos for many years. So just tell the viewers and listeners a little bit about your vocation, your passion.
It all supposed I had my story, the traumas I went through as a child, then went through my wake up call, or life quake is a term I've heard just recently, and I love that.
Lifequake, yeah. Okay.
I get what it's like to be a people pleaser. The traumas of my childhood caused that within me, and the wake up that helped me to stop being that people pleaser. And I was very lucky. I was looking for what can I do to help me and support me. And
Mhm.
Reiki came. The first person you treat is yourself when you do level 1 Reiki.
Yeah.
And my Reiki master also introduced me to sound energy in the form of toning, the use of the voice. Now, bearing in mind, I'm somebody who was a people pleaser and I was so horribly shy, I was somebody who struggled to actually use my voice. So it's amazing. I have no troubles now. It's amazing that I was then introduced to the sound and I loved the toning. But I also accept, as with the channeling of the message from the mythical beings and from the dragons, I channel the Reiki energy, I channel the toning. It's not me. And I have been known to have to look up and think, excuse me, they're my vocal cords. So they have a sense of humor and they've been very good, but every now and again.
So
And
by probably most people have a sense of what channeling is, but is another way of describing it saying you become a vehicle through which information, we'll call it data, is downloaded. People use that term sometimes to your mind and your mouth, I guess, your vocal cords, and then you deliver the goods. So you're a vehicle, you're a passageway or a channel.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Good.
absolutely. I don't go into a trance or anything like that. I do tend to sort of close my eyes when I'm in that
Yeah.
process of
Right. Uh-huh.
channeling.
Yeah.
So there's no distractions that way. But I think a lot of us channel more than we think we do.
Right.
I don't know about you, but have you ever found yourself saying something and thinking, where did that come from?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Sometimes more than others. Sometimes I go, "Ooh, my God, what the?" Oops. But there are times when I have witnessed that I just there's like a stream or something coming through me, and the words are much more eloquent and articulate than I usually am. And I think, wow, there was something else there. I somehow I emptied myself or invited that light to come through. Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. In all cultures, there have been oracles and telepaths and various words for it. So, do you feel that everybody has this potential?
Personally, I don't see why not. For me, we are a soul, a spirit that has chosen to have a physical form. And therefore, whether you want to think of that soul spirit being inside of us, but actually, I think it's way bigger than we are. Um, our heart, for me, is our connection to our soul.
Yeah.
And our soul is the connection to all that is.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So if we are open to that understanding, it doesn't have to be about a belief, it's that understanding, then why wouldn't we be able to bring forth information that we actually already know? We're not here learning anything, we're here remembering.
Mhm.
I don't know whether you've ever read something or listened to something and suddenly felt something right in the core of your being of that's the truth. And
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
on a couple of occasions, and it was just so strong that it was just like, oh wow,
Hmm.
yes, I know the
Hmm.
truth of
Yeah.
that.
Well, in the Baha'i writings, Baha'u'llah says that the soul is not located in the physical body, but rather is reflected through the person as the light of the sun is reflected in a mirror. So
Yeah,
a lot of people try to determine, in some cultures, they say the soul is right here, just to the right of the ribs, or here or here, but it's not in the body, but it reflects through us. And then, of course, we have our personality, which is another story. The Our emotions and our physical body and our mental equipment. um, so beautiful. Um, well, so you must help a lot of people by being that intermediary, so to speak. You do you pick up something in them? Do you have clients, or is it more through your broadcasting to the general public that you deliver the goods, as I say?
I'm very open to clients, and I do have some regulars that come to me, and every now and again, sort of
Okay,
one pops in and then pops back out again, and that's
sure.
fine because the way that I work with the energies that I work with, and that's just it, it's energies that I work with,
Mhm.
and I'm very accepting of the fact that it's not necessarily about multiple sessions. You
Right.
know, having created the vocal Reiki using the toning and being able to help people to connect with their inner child and heal the hurt, pain, and trauma that the child has gone through.
Mhm.
There's a beautiful quote by Alice Little. As a traumatized child, we were desperately waiting for the adult that would come and save us. What we didn't understand was that it would be ourselves as an adult. And I was doing what I'm doing before I even read that for the first time. And it was just like, that's exactly it. The only person who can heal me is me.
Mhm.
I can't heal anyone else, but I
Mhm.
can support them to empower their own self healing. And
Yes.
as my younger self has felt listened to and heard, feels loved, feels acknowledged, because hurt and traumatized children don't feel that. You know, they feel so alone. And if it's a child, they can't have it explained to them that there probably isn't any of what they're feeling actually intended. But you can't explain that to a
That's
child.
that's the way it's
So
experienced, right? And those those experiences go so deep, they become ingrained in us like engrams, or we become hardwired to
yeah,
believe that the world is like this or like that, or we are such and such. It's a narrative. And then, of course, unless it's changed, unless the environment changes, or at some point some healing comes in, spiritual or holistic healing or medical healing, even. What did you call that um, epiphany? Earth, not an earthquake, a light quake, was it? A
life quake.
life quake. Yeah, that's a good word. So, would you say what age was that, more or less?
Well, my life quake was when I was around 36, 37, I think.
Okay, interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
but the incident happened. But obviously, with that, there's then the time because it was a broken jaw that gave me 6 months of pain and sleepless
Mm,
nights.
mm.
It was a dentist that broke it, extracting a wisdom tooth. So no, I wasn't
Ooh.
thumped on it or anything like that. But it still happened. But I didn't know it was broken for a week. And as I
My
said,
goodness.
so it gave me 6 months of pain and sleepless nights. When you're a people pleaser, I don't have children, but I was running a home. I had a husband at the time. I was studying accountancy, and I was working full time. So
No,
and I was exhausted. I
yeah,
wasn't getting any sleep. I was trying to do all of that, and people pleasing is exhausting.
right.
And
Yeah,
anybody who is or has been a people pleaser,
this
you
is
know how
it's a full-time
it is.
job and more
Yeah,
extra time over.
I
So
was
you
trying
were
everything.
exhausted. Would you say you burned out? Was that part of the life quake? Like,
I
breaking
think
down before you break through kind of thing?
I think it was just getting to that point where I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I I don't see it as being a breakdown so much as I just can't do this.
Okay.
The studying went, sort of, and eventually so did the marriage. Sort of, and then actually the job got taken away as well. So, but the marriage went because the people pleasing started to stop.
Okay.
It took time. None of this happened in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a life quake, a wake up call
Right.
is an incident that occurs that slowly helps change things in your life.
Yeah.
And one thing I would say to a lot of people is, if you feel there are changes should be made, don't wait for the universe to do them.
Mhm.
Have the courage to do it yourself. Okay, the universe gave me the wake up. I had to be the one that said, that's the end of my marriage.
Mm.
I had to do that
Yeah.
because the universe abhors a vacuum.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I was saying to the universe, I'm ready. I didn't realize this at the time. I really didn't understand any of this at the time. But I was saying I was ready. And they said, right, well, you don't need to stay where you're living in Northampton. We'll take the job away from you. I got the chance to have a secondment to Bournemouth, which is where I now live.
Okay.
And I took redundancy at the end of that as well. Sort of it. I was suddenly being taken care of in ways I really didn't understand.
Yeah.
There was such a flow. And I've read these things saying, if everything's going easily, you're not on the right path. But I'm sorry, I disagree with that, because by taking that control and saying, that's the end of the marriage, the universe said, end of the job. And I thought, thank goodness for that,
Mm.
And then it was that chance to move. And I was given I wasn't given my little house, I had to buy it. But everything fell into place. And I took the redundancy and I was in a new job 6 days later.
Mm-hmm. So would you recommend that people go out and get their jaw broken in order to have this kind of
No,
enlightenment experience and shift? No, I'm just kidding, of course.
no,
But
no.
how can people, if let's say someone hasn't had their life quake yet, sometimes it happens much later in life, even in old age, sometimes in early childhood. But let's say somebody says, "Oh, I like the sound of that. I'd like to clear up things and be able to make decisions that will really free up my road, my path, and feel that liberation and empowerment and nourishment that comes from that." How can people go about it? Vocal
Believe
Reiki?
and trust, believe and trust in themselves.
Okay.
Really, I think it because it's all about self. I
Mhm.
hadn't even heard of Reiki at the time all
Mhm.
this was going on.
Yeah.
I wasn't anywhere near this path
Right.
I'm now on,
Uh-huh.
but it helped me to get there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd probably still be in that marriage, living in the same house over
So
20 years.
these kinds of wonderful advice, and when you watch the rock stars, and the super athletes talking to young people and trying to encourage them, they always say this: just be yourself. But how the hell do you just trust in yourself or be yourself? It's easy to say, but how do you actually do it? If you don't, like if you're at a place where you don't have self-esteem or trust in yourself, in your own capabilities, how do you make that transition? Is it just hearing those words enough to start a process? Maybe make a person curious at least.
For some people, it will be. For
Okay.
other people, they will have to wait for that life quake.
Okay.
But explore things that are of interest to you.
Hmm.
As I said, Reiki, the very first person you treat when you learn is yourself. What can you do for you? That's the most important thing. As a people pleaser, me? No, nothing should ever be about me. Why? I don't even come on the bottom of my list. I've fallen off the bottom of it.
Right.
It's bringing yourself back up to being a priority in your own
Okay.
life.
Okay. Okay. So
Learning
remembering,
to,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
learning to say
So
yes off.
right. So maybe this would be a good segue, as they say, into. I've been watching interviewers. I'm picking up the lingo. A segue into your book, which is a fascinating project with multiple authors, right? sort of on
Yes,
this theme of narratives that we've had that have not been working for us and how to shift those.
yes. The book is called I Didn't Become Selfish, I Became Harder to Manipulate.
Mhm.
And many of the stories are, it's all about the manipulation, the coercive behavior, sort of the bullying,
Yes.
yes, that has happened in people's lives.
Right.
I've got 7 gentlemen who've participated in the book, which is brilliant because it isn't all about women being manipulated by men.
No.
It isn't all about little girls being manipulated by either the mother or the father.
Right.
It comes from all perspectives in all walks of life, in all times of life. So yes, there are the childhood stories. Yes,
Mhm.
there are the teenage and young adult stories. And yes, there are the work stories. And yes, there are the relationship stories.
Mhm.
The truth of the matter is, the most important relationship for us to have is the one with ourselves. And each and every one of us has gone through something that, and it's women to women, men to men. It's there is no, oh, it's only. And it was really important to me to ensure that there was a range of different. It would have been very easy to find 20 odd women who'd all been abused by husbands. But that isn't all that's out there. I
Mhm.
worked with a guy quite a few years ago. That's when I was still working in offices. And he was self harming because of the manipulation at home
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
his
Mhm.
partner
Mhm.
and female partner.
Yeah.
So I've I've heard about it. I did a short video that went up on the 1st of April last year, 2024, and it was called You Didn't Become Selfish, You Became Harder to Manipulate. That video has had over 101,000 views,
Wow.
over 600 comments underneath
Mm.
from people saying, thank you.
And
Thank you.
congratulations. Yeah, it really struck a note with people.
It did, which is why the book. But
Yeah.
there were many people who shared their story under that as
Mhm.
well,
Uh-huh.
of the manipulation. Mothers, but it wasn't just fathers, it was mothers as
Sure.
well.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
it's realizing that there are many, many people, whether you've got what appears to be a really drastic story or one you think is, oh, that's nothing in comparison, but it's still there. It's still people trying to manipulate you and maneuver you into
Mhm.
what they want. And you
Of course, yeah.
said,
And very often they don't even know they're doing it. They're on the other side of the equation, right? Perhaps they were manipulated, or that's what they witnessed when they were growing up. So it's just a natural way to be in the world. And sometimes they are aware, and which is a little more um, toxic,
yeah,
you might say, when there's that intention to hurt, really, or to limit another person's freedom. But very often it's largely unconscious. So I like the title of the book. So I'm not selfish. I'm just becoming more harder to manipulate now. So
yeah, oh,
you're changing your narrative step by step. There can be a epiphany, an awakening kind of thing, and say, aha, this is what's going on, right? This is what's been going on, and this is why I'm so damn tired or unhappy or whatever, or angry or afraid. And I was a little bit sick of this, and I'm going to change it so that desire, aspiration to change, right? Like the stage of discipleship, you might say. And then I'm going to learn how. I'm going to keep thinking about it. I'm going to watch some videos, go to a workshop, read a book, maybe do some therapy. Meditation is great, things like that. There's so many tools. And then
yeah,
gradually, as you were saying, it's like planting something, and then slowly it starts to manifest, precipitate, you might say, from the unseen realm, which is the mind and the intention, into actual new habits that will support the new beliefs. getting
Yeah.
them grounded in the physical habits too, right?
And in the book, not only do the authors share their story, but there's sort of like three sections. There's the story, the
Okay.
aha moments.
All right.
Sort of, it's right, okay, yeah, I've now understand what's going on, and sort of, and
Yeah.
I've called it the thoughtful nuggets and pearls. So it's just thoughts that people could think about. It's
Mm-hmm.
not telling people what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Here are some suggestions that might support you
Yeah.
through what you're going through.
Right. Uh-huh.
And to me, that's the important thing. That's why sort of it felt right to do the book. And again, it was something I felt guided to do.
Right. Right. So maybe in a bigger and more general way, you were channeling some piece of your purpose or what humanity needs. You know, one little piece of it. There are a lot of good people out there helping, but you've sort of found a niche, right, with the voice thing too. Um, well, once the video gets posted on the podcast and Substack, I can put underneath your website. So if people want to follow up with some of your amazing gifts, like the vocal Reiki and the light speak is another thing that you do, and also the book itself, and maybe buy the book. Will it be available through Amazon or?
It's as we're recording, this is available as an ebook via Amazon, but I also asked all the authors to read their chapter and
Yeah.
to record it. So there is an
Ah,
audio link within the ebook. So it's not a separate link, it's within the ebook. I like doing things differently.
great. I love that. Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I'm hoping that I'm going to get it out as a physical book, because we're going to be doing a gathering, and I'm going to be do some recording of
Okay.
conversations with each of with a couple of the authors at the same time, and
Mhm.
release that. We're not looking necessarily at making any charges for the book, obviously, yes, that has to be paid for,
Of
but we're
course.
not looking at any charges for the gathering. But maybe as a re-release of the book, then I'm hoping I will get the physical book available as well. But it was me doing practically all of it, including creating the book and putting it up. So it's sort of I
Wow.
I just limited the pressure I was putting myself under.
Did it take a while to bring the whole thing together? And
Yes, oh yeah. I sort of got a lot of the people together, and I sort of started just after the new year and but launched on the 1st of April. I knew it had to be the 1st of April, the anniversary of the video going up in
right, right.
2024.
Okay.
So I
Well,
didn't give myself a lot of time.
yeah. Well, I look forward to checking in with that publication. And meanwhile, before we wind down, I'm trying to keep these interviews as interesting as they are, and we could probably go off in different directions and talk for a lot longer, but try to keep them under half an hour for the viewers' user friendliness. um, this Reiki, vocal Reiki that you do, perhaps you could give us an example just to entertain us a little bit, or give us a sense, a little demonstration of what you do.
Vocal Reiki is purely just about toning, and one of the
Oh,
most powerful aspects of it is toning an individual's name.
oh
Now,
yeah,
the one thing I know with all of these sort of platforms
yeah.
is that there's a very good chance you won't hear it all.
Oh,
However, what I do know is it isn't about what you hear. It's about what you feel. And it
are you
doesn't matter where you are in the world, you will, it's about feeling that energy.
right? But
And
are
so
you saying that the sound actually won't record correctly?
some of it may not record,
Uh,
but sometimes I can find that the sound seems to go, in which case I'm guessing that sound is on a completely different level and isn't meant to be heard, because it's the same with the light language. As much as I'm speaking it and I'm speaking it very fluently, I don't understand it.
hmm,
I can't tell you what I'm saying, but where it is felt is in your heart and in your soul.
okay.
And so the energy works at a totally different level to this.
All right. Well, fair enough. Whether we hear it or we don't hear it, we'll know that something's going on. So, would you like to, if you
Yeah,
can, just on the spur of the moment, do
yeah,
maybe,
no, no,
for
not
15, 30 seconds, maybe? Would that be?
not a problem. Well, that could be breath. One breath.
Yeah.
All I would suggest to people is please sit quietly, relax, close your eyes, and put your roots down, whether they're in your feet, the base of your spine, roots down into Mother Earth, deep into Mother Earth, anchoring into Mother Earth. Mother Earth is sending up her love and her protection through your roots, into your feet, up through your legs, into your whole body, totally surrounding and protecting you. As I said, this isn't about what you hear, it is about what you feel.
That was beautiful. Thank you. I felt that right here in the middle of my forehead.
Third eye.
I was pretty much in the just yeah, inside though in the bone, and it was very relaxing in a way. I would love to hear it every day. Maybe you can record it just like that, half a minute or a minute, and send it to me. I would play it. They have these little apps for the phone of Tibetan bowls, and they're so beautiful. They're recorded so beautifully, and you just click on the button and it rings 8 times or something like that. Well,
My
that's
voice has been likened to a Tibetan bowl.
yeah. There's a
I,
clarity, a purity, and a clarity to it. That was the first thing that struck me actually. A white light that sort of is like a white, pure, like a little waterfall or something. Just, and I'm sure other people had other response. So that was just my subjective response, right? Uh, thank you. Well, it's been a slice, as they say, a slice. Talking with you and listening to some of your experience. I know there's much more for you to share, but thank you so much for joining us today, Sara. And I hope people will check out your website, and there's lots of resources there.
oh, yeah, there's the vocalreiki.com. We didn't even get to giftofhealingtv.com and ourmagicalfriends.com. So
Okay.
I've got the three.
Yeah.
And
Great.
there's different on each, but you'll find what we've been talking about today. You'll find all of that on vocalreiki.com.
Very good. Okay. Well, pip pip. Is that what you guys say over in the UK? Toodaloo. Pip pip.
Toodle. Oh, haven't you heard that one for a long time? Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Hugh.
You know,
And I'm just hopefully this will work.
It's been a pleasure.